So, guys, we are back with a new video reaction, and it says how rich men north of Richmond lost the debate from Candace. Guys, let's check it out.
All right, guys, happy Thursday. I think you already know what this show is going to be about. As I told you yesterday, I was attending the debates live. What an honor it was. I did not expect them to be nearly as spicy as they were. It was a fantastic time. And of course, what we're going to do is just recap the debates. Who were the biggest winners? Who were the biggest losers? You guys, I think, probably have an indication based on all of the press and media today of who won. But I want to go through all the candidates because there were some surprise showings. All that coming up on Candace Owens. So I entered in my verdict pretty early. Obviously, if you've been watching the show, I said that I thought that Vivek Ramaswamy was going to thrive in a debate setting because, well, he's an academic. And I think he probably gets up and he debates for fun, for breakfast. He strikes me as that sort of an individual. And he definitely performed last night. But I will say the debates started quite surprisingly. I thought, by the way, that Bret Baier and Martha MacCallum did a great job hosting the debates. The questions were interesting, and perhaps more interesting than the questions were the candidate responses. They played the Rich Men North of Richmond song. You guys know what I'm talking about. It is the most viral and most successful song right now in America. I think globally, actually, it is charting #1 in the world. And it is a young gentleman named Oliver Anthony. He's a factory worker. He is just singing a song about the state of things in America and how depressing it is for people to get up every day and go to work. So yeah, I was a bit surprised to see that song was so viral that it made it as the first question to the debate stage. Let's just jog your memory in case you are one of the only individuals in this country who has not yet heard the song. Here's a small clip of it.
These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. And it's taxed to no end, cause the rich men, cause the rich men.
So this song has certainly struck a chord in the hearts of Americans and people the world over who just don't recognize their countries anymore. We don't even recognize what we're focused on. We don't even understand if politicians understand why we are so frustrated with D.C., we are so frustrated with governance. And it just feels like the little men are being left out. I mean, I could write tons of answers as to how I would have answered the question that was first asked to the candidates, which is, why is this song resonating with so many people in this country? Let's take a listen to what Ron DeSantis had to say when he was asked this question.
So, Governor DeSantis, why is this song striking such a nerve in this country right now? What do you think it means?
Our country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline. And it starts with understanding we must reverse Bidenomics so that middle-class families have a chance to succeed again. We cannot succeed as a country if you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings. That is wrong. We also cannot succeed when the Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country. I showed it could be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will not let you down.
Weird little smile at the end. And I wanted to show his first answer because he's the first candidate on stage that I want to talk about. DeSantis, obviously, you guys knew what my predictions were going in. I felt that the stakes were the highest for DeSantis and his supporters because, as we had mentioned on yesterday's show, he's falling in the polls. You know, he had this big splash of an announcement, I'm running for president. He was on Twitter. He's got all the donors behind him, and he was polling really high. And then since June, he's lost 10 points, at least according to the Emerson College poll. So he had the most to lose last night. So I said yesterday, live on Backstage, that if I'm his team, I'm not sure what my advice is going to be going into the debate. I suggested that actually he might want to stay away from the fire because it could come across wrong and he could actually bleed out more supporters and he could bleed out more donors. And that prediction ended up being correct. DeSantis, and I think that you can see that in the clip that I just showed you, the entire night, he just has a problem where he doesn't feel like he's answering from the heart, right? When you just listen to that music, when you listen to that person singing, when you hear him talking about rich men north of Richmond, the reason why it's resonating with the American people is because there is this tremendous sadness, and that sadness, I think, also is going alongside a fear. Right, as a mother for me, I would have personalized that question instantly. I understand when I hear this song because I don't know what the future is going to look like for my children. Right, I'm about to give birth to my third child, and I don't recognize this country as one that I grew up in. We're looking at issues that we've never dealt with. When people are bringing up these issues, people that work every single day, they're being castigated by the media as rednecks, as backwards, because they're aspiring to the American dream. Again, I'm just talking to you from the heart. After hearing that song, when I heard it over and over and over again, and as I replayed it, I can hear the sadness in that man's voice. And that's not the answer that I got from DeSantis. That was the first question he was asked. That was his first answer. And he felt to me like a candidate. It felt to me like I was watching a Will Ferrell movie, The Campaign. Sweet. In fact, this meme started going around of that fake smile he kept doing at the end of every question. Take a look at this.
And I will not let you down.
It's like a struggle for DeSantis to just be a person. I will not let you down. That's my campaign slogan, right? Never back down. I will not let you down. We just want to feel a little blood. We want to see a little blood. I want to know that underneath that there is a human being that actually understands the other human being he purports to want to lead in this great nation. And so what I will say about DeSantis last night, and of course I think people are agreeing very much with this assessment, is he didn't move the needle one way or the other. And that was a detriment, by the way, to DeSantis because he needed to. He needed to show that he could lead. He needed to show that he was assertive. He needed to also show that he was somewhat compassionate. And we didn't get any of those things. I think he was probably the best when he was speaking about the border. I was live tweeting, obviously, from the event. And I said that when he was talking about what he would do to the cartels, what he would do to criminals on the border, I believed him. You could see that this was not a scripted version of DeSantis when he was talking about that. He was telling the truth. He said that they'd be stone cold dead, which I thought was quite funny. It was a very WWE wrestling, to give you a throwback. And that was the only time that I thought we saw a real glimpse of who DeSantis is. But beyond that, I felt that he was sticking to his lines. His lines were rehearsed. And I think that was how the audience felt as well. I was sitting next to my right, Nikki Haley's people were sitting next to me, her children, and I think one of her biggest donors were sitting to my right. And they said the same thing. They're like, I like DeSantis, but he doesn't seem like he's authentic. And so I think that despite the fact that he did not have the worst performance on stage, he will suffer the worst results from his non-performance on stage because he wasn't assertive. And by the way, the worst moment of the night was delivered by DeSantis. Unbelievably, the candidates were asked simply to raise their hands if they would support Trump if he would become the Republican nominee. It's very simple. You don't need to look over to anybody next to you. You don't need to look and adjust and see which way the wind is blowing. That's exactly what DeSantis did, and it was really bad. Take a look.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Yeah, he actually, and when you look into that clip and you can zoom in onto it, he looks left and right to see who is raising their hand to kind of judge which way the wind is blowing. And then he raises his very meekly. And what does that suggest? Well, it suggests that the criticisms of DeSantis have not been far off, that he doesn't actually have his own opinions, that he's constantly measuring to see what his donors want. He's measuring public response, but he's not assertive. And that assertiveness is something that you saw across under candidates. Even if you disagreed with them, at least they held a position. So yes, in my opinion, DeSantis was one of the bigger losers of the night because he did not come across as assertive, which is necessary if you are going to lead a great nation. Let's move on to somebody who I actually think performed well, despite the fact that I think that she ran into complete conflict with the reasons that she initially performed well. Nikki Haley, I will say she surprised me. Now, I am not a Nikki Haley fan because Nikki Haley is a part of the military-industrial complex. But I have to say, when she came out the gate, her first three answers, they were absolutely phenomenal. She seemed well put together. She seemed prepared. She seemed strong. I was very shocked with Nikki Haley's performance, and I see why people are putting her in the top three of the performers of the evening. In fact, the strongest moment from Nikki Haley was delivered at the beginning when they were talking about spending. And all of the candidates were talking about Democrat spending. We were talking about COVID spending. We were talking about people that on stage voted, to increase spending when we went through the quote unquote COVID pandemic. And then Nikki Haley kind of turned the tables and she said this.
Why are you better positioned to turn around this economy that we've heard all of these voters talking about tonight than Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful entrepreneur nationally right now? He's beating you in the polls.
Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about, the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us, too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill, they left us with 90 million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Round of applause. Honestly, she almost had me on my feet. That was a Nikki Haley win, a sound answer talking about the spending that, yes, the Republicans are committing. While you're pointing finger at Democrats, you guys are doing the exact same thing. Look what you've done. How much you have committed the future of our children to all of this spending that we can't keep up with. And yeah, it's difficult for people to become introspective and say that we are a part of the problem. So I thought that was her best answer of the entire evening. But then guess what happened? You're not going to believe this. Nikki Haley, who delivered that sound answer, who said, absolutely, we've got to decrease spending. It's all of our faults. Well, then Nikki Haley did what Nikki Haley does. She became a neocon when we started talking about foreign policy, when they started talking about whether or not people on stage would commit to further spending in Ukraine. There was only one person who said absolutely not. There was only one person who said that we shouldn't be sending our dollars overseas, and that was Vivek. And Nikki had, well, a bit of a meltdown about the concept of not spending more money in Ukraine, about the concept of not giving more money to Israel. Take a look.
A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all,
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis, Governor
Nikki,
DeSantis,
I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. And
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm going to
address each of those right now. The false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
Under your watch,
so
you
the
will
reality
make America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless wars we've gotten into. I have to address that. So our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel needs America. America needs Israel.
Okay.
Stunning listening to her say that. Israel doesn't need America. America needs Israel. We need to commit billions of dollars to a country that is safer than ours, that a country that has stronger borders than ours, because we need them, is her argument. And yeah, so forget everything she said earlier, because she didn't mean it. What she actually meant was I'm going to talk a big game about COVID spending, which was at least, the very least, spent on the American people. But don't you dare suggest that we shouldn't be sending billions of dollars overseas. We have to commit it because Vladimir Putin is a murderer. Oh, because what? Joe Biden isn't? Because Hillary Clinton isn't? Because the American government isn't? Are you kidding me? Because NATO isn't? What did we do to Gaddafi? Do you think we're so stupid? Are we so stupid that we buy into this idea that we are running around the world to make other countries more safe? No, we're not running around the world trying to help other countries be more safe. We are effectively doing what we are accusing others of doing. Right? So at the same time that she wants you to believe in the Cold War theory that, oh, if we don't spend all this money in Ukraine, the USSR is going to be back, she's not acknowledging the fact that we've essentially built the USSR via NATO in European countries, that we have our boots on the ground in other people's countries that don't want us there, that are asking us not to expand to their territories. That is the hard truth. Your politicians are lying to you, and Nikki Haley ultimately wound up being a liar. She does not care about government spending. And so, yes, Vivek's retort was correct. Good luck at your future career on the board of Lockheed, because that's exactly where she's headed, and she knows where her bread is butter. She is John McCain 2.0. Now let's move on to Chris Christie. Chris Christie, what a fun time he was. Why was Chris Christie a fun time? Why did I appreciate him so much in the debate? Well, he obviously, I would say, lost, but he was the only person that actually got booed so badly that they turned around to us in the audience and asked us to stop booing, in which, by the way, I just lost my composure. It wasn't professional enough. I completely did not stop booing because he's such a jerk. Beyond that, though, Chris Christie, who hates Trump with every part of his being, was actually cosplaying Trump the entire night. He came in heavy with the insults. Now, you instantly knew, by the way, that Vivek was winning the evening because every single person felt it necessary to attack him and to attack his position. So it tells you who they thought the winner was, because you're not attacking the person that's losing. Nobody was attacking Doug Burgum. Nobody felt it necessary to attack Asa Hutchinson. But every single one of these career politicians felt it necessary to turn and to attack Vivek. Chris Christie being the first among them, and to essentially say that he was an Obama 2.0. Take a listen.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Come over and give me a hug. Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
Yeah, so there's something about Chris Christie calling somebody ChatGPT, saying that he reminds him of Barack Obama. He actually was, as I said, cosplaying Trump, somebody that he claims to hate. But there's a layer of affection in his hatred towards Trump. I think he actually envies Trump, and he was trying to be funny, and he was trying to be the person that people took away and said, oh, he was just so funny, and it just didn't work out for him, especially when Chris essentially said that Trump, or at least implied rather, that Trump should be indicted, all of these ridiculous indictments, simply because he doesn't like him, right? He didn't point to a crime that Trump committed, but he agreed and thought that Trump should be indicted anyways, which is a remarkable position for somebody to take on stage. And so, yes, he was booed, the most roarish boo of the entire evening, which actually required the host to get involved. Those boos were for Chris Christie. Take a listen.
You sit here in an answer. Right.
Hold on one second.
You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
So listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this section.
Yes, Chris Christie should not be on the next debate stage. His campaign honestly ended. If it ever was a campaign, it ended with his attacks on Vivek for saying that even if he thinks what Trump did was wrong, wrong is not illegal, which is the correct take to have. You cannot be using the Department of Justice to go after people simply because you don't like them. It's a dangerous precedent to set. Chris Christie somehow disagrees, but something that he did very much agree on, and what Pence agreed on, and what, as I just showed you, Nikki Haley agreed on, was that we all must support Ukraine. The money must go overseas, or else Vladimir Putin bad. The USSR will rise again. Take a listen.
And I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and shot people in the back of the head, men, and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives who were left as widows and orphans.
So yeah, an emotional plea. He was trying to move the room by talking about the crimes that are taking place all the way in Ukraine and in Russia. And that was something that was of more significance to him and for everybody else on stage and what's taking place in our own country. The lie that these neocons kept selling was that we can do both. We can take care of what's happening in Ukraine by sending them supplies, by sending them armor, by sending them machines, and sending them billions and billions of your taxpayer money while we take care of America. And that's obvious. Obviously, what's going on with Maui, you can see, oh, wait, no, we don't do that. Well, it's obvious by how our inner cities are thriving. Oh, wait, they aren't thriving. So no, we actually cannot do both. It's a answer that was delivered over and over again by people that are benefiting from the military industrial profit. They are. The complex is profiting them directly. And Pence, who, by the way, I want to be clear, Pence performed well yesterday evening. No, I think he was the person that nobody expected to be so fiery. And he was stronger than I think I've ever seen him on stage. He was focused and he kept going for the jugular with Vivek. But then, of course, him too. He gave all of himself when it came to Ukraine with an emotional plea for Americans. Take a listen.
If we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border. And frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just briefly address Pence. Vice President Pence. I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Vivek, that is correct. If you believe that the biggest threat to America is the non-existent USSR, it's because you're an idiot. I want you to punch yourself in the face for being stupid. That's the truth. If you have fallen for the propagandist effort to ensure that we can leave Afghanistan, stealing billions from the American taxpayers and having done absolutely nothing, right? Having accomplished nothing, to jump right into Ukraine and steal billions from the American taxpayers to inevitably accomplish absolutely nothing, then it's because you're an idiot and you're a robot. Every single person that stood on that stage next to Vivek and tried to pretend the threat of Putin in the Western Hemisphere was real. We were in the 1960s Cold War, were neocons, and they were idiots and they shouldn't be listened to. So What was the result of the evening? Well, according to headlines, Daily Mail, Vivek Ramaswamy beats Ron DeSantis for the best performance and tops Donald Trump as the real winner in the poll of the Republican debates. According to The Sun, Ramaswamy, without Trump's shadow on stage, dominates the GOP debate. According to Bari Weiss, who is now an independent journalist formerly of the New York Times, Ramaswamy. Every headline talked about Vivek being the person that nobody expected to do so well at the debates, which is shocking to me because I expected it from the very beginning. In fact, even CNN, who were conducting a poll with Republican voters, saw the same response. Take a look.
Here's what I want to ask you about who you thought did the best during this debate. Basically, who do you think won the debate? I'm going to do it in alphabetical order to be fair. Anyone think Doug Burgum did the best? That's 0. Anyone think Chris Christie did the best? He certainly got most of the airtime. A lot of the airtime, not most of the airtime. How about Ron DeSantis? How many of you think Ron DeSantis did the best? That's 2 people. How about Nikki Haley? 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Asa Hutchinson? Mike Pence? 0. Vivek Ramaswamy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tim Scott? Okay, so this panel here thinks Ramaswamy won the debate.
He did his own way.
Why does the panel reflect what we're seeing all across the press? The answer is simple. It is because he is the only candidate on that stage that remained committed to answering that first question, which, again, was why is Richmond, north of Richmond, the #1 song across the globe right now? And the answer is because people are tired. People are tired of a bunch of people that purport to care about the American factory workers who actually castigate them behind closed doors as racist and backwards. Tired of those individuals making decisions in boardrooms to send their money overseas and then telling them when they say, no, I worked hard for this money. I'd like to keep it for my children, telling them that they're horrible because they don't understand the plight of the Ukrainian children more than their own children. You think they're supposed to care more about Ukrainians' children than they do with their own children? You think that they can do both? No, they can't do both. Look at how much money people are making. Look at how much money has disappeared with tax dollars being taken out, and God knows where it goes. We just know it's going overseas. And while these fat cats sit in D.C. and they're well-fed and their children attend private school because factory workers are doing all of their hard work because they're the people that are committed to funding these wars overseas despite them not wanting to because they want to focus on their own families. Yeah, well, that's what's going on in this country. That's the reason why this song is #1. Vivek was the only person who had the spine to take strong positions on stage without having to look over and see what everybody else was thinking. He said the climate change agenda is a disaster, and he's right. It's just more trillions of dollars being stolen from those factory workers and the small town workers all across America. That's the truth. He said that the Department of Justice should not be used to indict people like President Donald Trump. That is a fact. It's a dangerous precedent. When we saw an uprising across small town America on January 6th, people castigating those individuals as insurrectionists, a danger, a threat to democracy. You know, the threat to democracy is Washington, D.C., because it's not democracy. We know it. It's an oligarchy. We all understand that. We get it. It's a few powerful people making decisions on behalf of everybody else, supported by the mainstream media, which is an arm of the CIA, convincing people via propaganda and brainwashing efforts to support causes that they shouldn't give a about. And Vivek didn't give a about them. And that, my friend, is why Vivek won. And that's all I'm going to say about that. You guys know that I'm a huge advocate of daily exercise. I hit the gym every morning before anyone in my house is even awake. But exercise is only half the battle. A big part of getting and staying in shape is eating right and getting all the proper nutrition that you need to fuel your day. Balance of Nature can help you do just that. Balance of Nature capsules are packed with 100% whole food. They use a cold vacuum process that preserves the natural antioxidants in 16 fruits and 15 vegetables for easy consumption. There's never been an easier way to make sure that you're getting your daily dose of fruits and vegetables. Balance of Nature sent a bunch of fruit and veggie capsules down to the studio for my team and I to try, and the whole team is feeling brighter, healthier, and more energetic. When you're disciplined enough to take care of your health, you will reap all kinds of benefits. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering 35% off with your first preferred order. So go to balanceofnature.com and use promo code Candace for 35% off. That's balanceofnature.com. Promo code Candace. All right, guys, we're not going to get into many of your comments today, but I had a bunch of people tweeting me yesterday asking me about Don Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle because what was running concurrently, or actually rather after the debates, Don Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle were there. I actually didn't see them because they were sitting on the opposite side and behind me. But I then went into the spin room because I was invited to go to the debates by Vivek Ramaswamy's team. And the way that it works is that if you are invited by a candidate that is on the stage, you get a special colored pass that allows you to then go into the media room thereafter. So, and it's only one person that's permitted. I was also traveling with my assistant. She didn't have that colored pass. And it allows you to see all of the candidates that go in, and they answer questions, and their comms teams answer questions. So people are asking, what did you think about the fact that Kimberly Guilfoyle and Don Trump Jr. were not allowed into this room because they threw a fit, a figurative fit, not even figurative, a literal fit, talking about the injustice of not being allowed into the spin room? Let's take a listen to what they said.
Right now, trying to ban people from actually having discourse about politics.
How un-American.
Probably shouldn't surprise any of us. But that's what it is. And I've been told by others that I would be able to go in. So they said we were able to go in, then they said they weren't. Now that we're here, and the candidate that
said you can't go in the spin room.
They're telling me right now, Fox won't let me into the spin room.
That's what the American people should know. This is the kind of
they're telling him
he
works for security here, but they're telling him that I'm not allowed to go in there because the candidates that they've been boosting while simultaneously trying to cut down Trump for the last 2 years didn't perform as they had hoped. So they can't have someone who can maybe be a representative of my father. Just like a few weeks ago when I was canceled after the first indictment, I was scheduled to go on. And about 5 minutes before I'm on, I found out I'm no longer on because apparently I wouldn't be a great surrogate to talk about my father's indictment. Just so we understand what we're dealing with here. So it shouldn't surprise any of us. And it's also why Trump was 100% right to not go to this debate.
Exactly.
It's beneath him, and when you know that you're walking into a setup because of exactly these kinds of circumstances, you understand exactly what's going on in mainstream media, even conservative.
It's very
I like to
un-American.
knock the one
It's
side,
against
but I got to
the
call
First
balls and strikes. This is no different than what we see from the Democrats.
Okay, I want to be first and foremost very clear that I like Don Trump Jr. very much. He has always been very good to me. In fact, when I was starting my career, a lot of the events that I did, just because his name was tied to it, I was able to get a lot of people in through the door who probably would have never heard me or attended otherwise. I just want to make that very clear, that I'm separating my critique of what he just did here from the person, because Don is actually a phenomenal human being. But this was bratty and privileged, and it was an unnecessary sidebar. Let's just get a couple of facts clear. Donald Trump was invited and he was courted to attend this debate. He declined to attend the debate. And by the way, I also want to say I think that was the right decision. I don't know that there would have been an upside for him. He was treated very poorly at the last set of debates when everything was actually rigged against him, right? Had his father had attended these debates, he would have been allowed into the spin room. That's how it works. You attend the debates, you're allowed into the spin room. Suggest that your father can not attend the debates, his own decision making, right? Can also run an interview with Tucker Carlson, which got hundreds of millions of views at the same time as the debate, and yet should still have his surrogates allowed into the media spin room, even though they were trying to create an obvious distraction from the debates by running his interview at the same time. It's just bratty. It's just bratty. There's nothing here happened. Kimberly in the background saying, is this un-American? No. It's completely bratty and privileged to suggest that you should still be allowed in the spin room. Now, if there's something I'm missing, I'll correct the record. If he was told by a Fox News person and he had the actual colored card that he was allowed to go in and speak on behalf of his father, which would be utterly nonsensical if you're Fox News. And I'm saying this as a business person. It would be utterly nonsensical to allow that when you're trying to keep the focus on the candidates that were on stage. Then I will recant my statement. I'll say I was wrong. I didn't realize that someone had personally texted him and said that. But what I just saw there was a completely bratty sideshow. It's hyper privileged. It's not un-American. It's a private company. They had their rules, and it would have been amazing if your father was there. I actually hope he goes to the next one as the candidate field gets smaller, because people love to watch Trump. I'm actually, I got in very late, so I didn't get to watch his interview with Tucker, but I'm going to watch it because I absolutely love Tucker Carlson. And we obviously know that Donald Trump has a way with communicating with people. So hearing him talk about issues that the American people care about, seeing that he trumped the GOP debate in terms of all of the views, all of that is wonderful. But let's not make what happened on the Republican debate stage about you guys, because it just wasn't. When you have an important meeting, You do it behind closed doors, right? You don't live stream it for the world. So why would you let people look in on you when you go online? Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like inviting the entire world into all of your meetings. Did you know that your internet service provider knows every single website that you visited? And what's worse is that they can sell this information to ad companies and tech giants who will use your data to target you. ExpressVPN puts a stop to all of this. It creates a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet so that your online activity cannot be seen by anyone. I use ExpressVPN on all of my devices. It works on everything from phones, laptops, even routers. So everyone who shares your Wi-Fi can still be protected even if they don't have ExpressVPN. And the best part is this. Using ExpressVPN is easy. You just fire up the app, click one button, and you're protected. ExpressVPN is the world's #1 rated VPN by Mashable, The Verge, and countless others. So if you're like me and you believe that your online activity is your business, secure yourself by visiting expressvpn.com/Candace. That's expressvpn.com/Candace to get 3 months free. Visit expressvpn.com/Candace to learn more. All right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. As a reminder, A Shot in the Dark is available now on Daily Wire Plus, so be sure to click the link in the description and subscribe right now. And also be sure to come back tomorrow because there will be a brand new episode.
Oh wow, guys. Vivek certainly did his homework. That's why he won. As simple as ABCD. Guys, see, I'm not big on politics. I don't really like politics, but it's interesting to watch because US politics is similar to Nigerians. I enjoy every drama that comes with politics, but I don't like to dabble myself with it. It's great to hear Candace always perspective about this whole thing, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Get in a better position to tell me what do you think about the debate and what's your opinion. Be at peace with yourself. Bye-bye. Watch and subscribe.